Just a quick slide here, a little bit more on encyclopedists and compilers, or whatever you want to call them. There's St. Isidore up there in the upper right there, and the Venerable Bede. It'd be nice to be called Venerable. That's a pretty good title. Isidore of Seville, in his text, quickly, notice how it functions more as a set of notes or like an encyclopedia, just like we were saying. It really reads like a textbook encyclopedia. Rhetoric handbooks are used here in this particular text. The view is that rhetoric handbooks are reference tools, right? It's where you go to look up a thing to do. So if you want to write a witty phrase, or you want to write something that's got something really well put in it, you just pull this thing down off the shelf, find the right tool to use, find the right way to turn a phrase, and you use it, right? So it's kind of like you would use, I don't know, an MLA bibliography guide, or a documentation guide, or a grammar handbook, or a dictionary. So it's a thing that you use as a reference item. It compiles, it synopsizes, it groups rhetoric and dialectic together. Here's another problem. Rhetoric being stylistic, having those 5 canons reduced down further is a trend during the medieval period. Blurring the distinction between rhetoric and dialectic. We spent the whole ancient period trying to root that out. Which one is which? Do they have epistemic functions? What's the? Aristotle seems to have worked it out pretty nicely. Then along comes Quintilian. Then we get back into this mess of what is rhetoric versus dialectic. He still thinks of rhetoric as primarily a secular and legal tool, not just an ecclesiastical tool. So the nice thing about Isidore is that he sees the potential for rhetoric in secular society, not just as something that a priest would use to give good sermons, and that's really in the early Middle Ages the most important thing. So he's seeing, hey, you know what? Lawyers might want this. People who run large estates might want this. Very highly educated people in civil society and secular society might want this as a skill. The Venerable Bede, probably most important, really just because he's English, and there really is almost nothing from the early Middle Ages at all related to rhetoric coming from England. From Augustine, he gets this notion that the best example of figures and tropes are from Scripture, naturally, so he's very orthodox on that. This is the first treatise on rhetorical style in England, okay? So, yes, the medieval period, it doesn't exactly reduce rhetoric all the way down to style, but it's got the heavy influence on style that there, and so the result is that you're going to get a treatise on rhetoric. You're going to get a treatise that's very largely on style, and this is the first one in English. Now, the interesting thing is that peculiarly, the English tendency, all the way from the Venerable Bede all the way up to the Renaissance, there aren't an awful lot of texts on rhetoric, but what we do have tends to do just that. It tends to equate rhetoric with style. It's only in the Renaissance when we start getting some of the school books and things of this nature, where people are beginning to explore rhetoric's potential with respect to things like arrangement and those sorts of things. So that's a peculiarly English thing. The continent comes to do that sort of thing much earlier than in England. On the continent, French and Spanish and Italian rhetoricians, or those who studied rhetoric anyway, begin to see rhetoric as having more than just a stylistic function much earlier than in England. In England, it takes all the way to the Renaissance before you see that.